Hey everyone. Tonight we're traveling thousands of years into the past, right to the riverbanks of the Nile, home to pharaohs, pyramids, and gods who never seem to take a day off from watching you. But behind the shining gold masks, towering monuments, and picture-perfect mythology lies a reality that's far less glamorous. So the real question is, what would actually happen if you had to survive just one single day in ancient Egypt? Spoiler: the sun isn't the only thing that's going to roast you alive. Before we dive in, take a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy hanging out here. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is. I love seeing how this little community stretches across time zones. Now dim the lights, maybe switch on a fan for that cozy background hum. Let's settle in and step into tonight's destination, ancient Egypt, land of pyramids, gods, and heat so unforgiving it should be considered a weapon. Because before you're even fully awake, the sun is already crashing down on you like it's trying to win the job of official sky tormentor. There are no blinds, no drapes, and absolutely zero hope of air conditioning. Just pure, relentless desert heat grilling everything around you, including you, before breakfast. You're stretched out on a straw mat, covered by a linen sheet that's more symbolic than useful. And that refreshing Nile breeze you've seen in documentaries? Yeah, it didn't get the memo. It feels like it vanished sometime around 2800 BC. By the time you step outside, the air is already sitting at a smug 32 degrees Celsius, about 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's not even mid-morning yet. The sun doesn't simply shine here. It attacks. Your linen tunic? Completely useless. It might as well be wet tissue paper in a sauna. And sunscreen? Forget it. No aloe gel. No SPF 50. Not even one of those floppy resort hats tourists love. Ancient Egyptians did use oils for protection, but unless you're wealthy or work for the temple, you're not seeing any of it. Your best option? Smearing yourself with mud or crocodile dung. And even then, there's no guarantee you won't still feel like a walking fried papyrus roll. By noon, the stones under your feet are hot enough to boil lentils. Shade becomes a rare treasure. Trees barely exist. You might find a sliver of relief crouching beside a mud brick wall, but even the walls feel like they're sweating by now. You meanwhile look like someone shoved you into a pottery kiln and then wandered off for lunch. And you can't complain either. Ra, the sun god himself, is glaring right at you. In ancient Egypt, sunlight wasn't just weather, it was divine judgment. The hotter the day, the more Ra was flexing his cosmic muscles. So if you're dripping like melted wax, congratulations. It's basically a heavenly pat on the back. Long story short, to make it through a single day in ancient Egypt, you need water, humility, and the emotional strength to accept that you will feel like rotisserie poultry. And this is just the start of your morning. You've barely lifted yourself off that itchy straw mat. The good news? The Nile is only a short walk away. The bad news? Your nose detects it long before your eyes do. Yes, that same sacred Nile, the holy artery of Egypt, the reason civilization blossomed here. Revered, worshipped, painted on tomb walls. But in person, it smells like a seafood stall having an identity crisis with a bog. The riverbanks are alive with flies, frogs, and creatures that look like nature made them on a dare. And this, dear visitor, is your bathroom. There's no soap yet, doesn't exist. And if it did, you definitely wouldn't be in the tax bracket to buy any. Instead, you cleanse yourself with the height of ancient Egyptian hygiene innovation: sand. Correct. You scrub your skin with gritty grains and pretend it's exfoliation. It's like treating your body with rough-grade sandpaper and calling it beauty care. Your clothes? They get washed too, by smacking them against rocks and hoping a lurking crocodile isn't in the mood for woven linen. And just to add excitement, remember that the Nile is a catch-all waterway. People bathe here, animals drink here, and sometimes, let's be real, less pleasant things drift downstream. Funerary boats pass through the same water you're splashing on your face. Yet somehow, this still counts as clean. You finish scrubbing, feeling slightly fresher, but also slightly paranoid about leeches. If you're living in Memphis or Thebes, you might occasionally access a public basin or cistern. But for most people, it's the Nile or nothing. And don't expect solitude. Bathing is a community event. Families, neighbors, cattle, children, and the occasional arrogant ibis poking around your feet like it owns the place. You fill your water jars, balance them on your head, and make your way back to your mud brick home before the sun bakes the walls into crunchy clay. It's a daily task, sacred, essential, and mildly traumatizing. Because yes, the Nile sustains you. It feeds you, cleanses you, and keeps you alive, even while threatening to nibble your toes. But let's not kid ourselves. This isn't some shimmering paradise. The Nile is equal parts holy blessing and biological nightmare. And now that you've officially bathed in crocodile soup, scrubbed yourself with nature's sandpaper, and roasted in the sun like a forgotten fig, it's time for breakfast. The most essential and least glamorous meal of your Egyptian existence. So let's manage expectations. No avocado toast, no colorful fruit platters, and definitely no iced coffee. Breakfast here isn't about taste. It's a strategic refuel session. You plop down on a tiny stool, if your household owns one, or you simply crouch in a corner like most people. The star of the menu? Bread. Endless bread. Dense, gritty, and about as tender as old leather boots. It's made from emmer wheat or barley, baked in clay ovens that also serve as retirement homes for local rodents. And yes, there will be sand. Not sprinkled, embedded. Courtesy of the grinding stones. Think of it as your daily mineral supplement. Next comes the beer. But don't get excited. This isn't a refreshing lager. This is warm, cloudy, semi-solid liquid bread. More like a grain porridge pretending to be a drink. High in calories, mildly fermented, and tasting faintly like wet cereal with commitment issues. Even the kids drink it. Not to be rebellious, but because it's safer than raw river water. Brewing at least kills the microscopic horrors lurking in the Nile, which, as we discussed, doubles as a moving biology lab. If the gods are feeling generous, and they rarely are, you might find an onion or a couple of hard, shriveled dates on the side. Maybe even a piece of fish, assuming someone caught one and didn't devour it immediately. As you gnaw your tooth-testing loaf and sip your swamp-colored brew, flies hover around you like you're hosting an all-you-can-eat brunch. Which, honestly, you are, at least for them. You wave them away with one hand while gripping your cup with the other, quietly accepting that this is probably the high point of your menu for the day. Breakfast in ancient Egypt isn't about joy, it's about survival. It gives you just enough energy to stumble through until the next sand-filled slab of bread finds its way to you. Bon appetit. You've choked down your gritty loaf, swallowed your chunky beer, and rested just long enough to call yourself barely functioning. Now comes the real challenge. Work. And let me warn you, ancient Egyptian labor makes modern burnout look like a relaxing wellness retreat. Unless you happen to be a scribe, a priest, or part of the royal family. Which, let's be honest, you absolutely are not. Your daily grind is pure muscle, dirt, and misery. There's no cooled office, no snack breaks, no comfy chair designed by someone with a spine. Just heat, grit, sweat, and the constant possibility of face planting from exhaustion before midday. If you're a farmer, you're already knee-deep in Nile muck at sunrise, pulling up weeds or planting barley, while an overseer watches you like it's his personal sport to shout at you. Your tools? Wooden plows, simple sickles, and your own aching hands when the tools don't cut it. Back hurting? Perfect. That's a sign you're doing it properly. If you're a laborer, your life somehow gets even more intense. Picture dragging massive stone blocks for temple construction under a brutal sun, barefoot, climbing ramps made of gravel, hope, and very poor life choices. No OSHA, no safety rules. One trip? That's a snapped ankle and maybe a muttered, tough luck from the foreman. Working on tombs is a whole different nightmare. You're carving limestone, chiseling out eternal resting places for people who, ironically, will enjoy far more peace in death than you ever will in life. And if you make an error in the pharaoh's tomb, let's just say your job consequences may include being sealed inside with your mistake and whatever curses come with it. And if you're a woman, don't assume you get off easy. Domestic life is its own endurance challenge. Grinding grain, carrying water, weaving linen, managing kids, tending the fire, and still heading out to help in the fields. Your break is the 7 minutes the baby naps, during which you're probably still working. You eat while moving, wipe sweat on your tunic, and never stop because stopping means falling behind. Fall behind. Someone else gets your grain ration, and you get blamed. There's no punching out. The sun is your time clock, and it demands full attendance. When it finally dips behind the horizon, you stagger home coated in dust, dreaming of softer sandals, cooler evenings, and maybe a sun god with better manners. Work in ancient Egypt isn't simply difficult, it's relentless. A whole body endurance test that lasts day after day until you collapse, or your overseer decides you're not worth the bread rations. And that's not even the worst part. After a day of getting roasted and overworked, you might feel tempted to mutter a complaint. Something tiny. This job is awful. Or, why am I doing this again? Don't. Stop. Immediately. Because in ancient Egypt, complaining isn't just frowned upon, it's borderline treason. Why? Because your boss isn't just a ruler. He's a god on earth. The pharaoh isn't some dude who won a political lottery. He's the physical incarnation of Horus himself. He's the son of Ra, heaven's hand-picked ruler, the one responsible for keeping Ma'at, the sacred balance of the universe, steady and unbroken. Translation: if the Nile blesses the land with a good flood, praise the pharaoh. If it doesn't, well, maybe you didn't offer enough devotion. Questioning his rule isn't just disrespectful, it's sacrilege. Speaking against him could earn you a whipping, a fine, or a one-way ticket to the afterlife without any of your treasured funerary goods. His presence is everywhere. His face carved on statues, etched into temple walls, stamped on seals, even pressed into bread molds. His name is repeated in rituals, and in every mural he towers over everyone else. Not because the artist liked him more, but because the law said so. And don't assume you'll ever get close to him. If you're an ordinary person, the closest you'll come is catching a quick glimpse of a gold-covered boat gliding past during a festival. Blink once, and he's already back behind palace walls you'll never walk through, surrounded by priests, officials, guards, and enough treasure to make an entire kingdom jealous. Which, technically, he rules, so that tracks. If you're fortunate enough to be assigned to a royal project, a temple, a tomb, or a colossal statue, you serve with holy enthusiasm. At least, that's the official narrative. You repeat it too, because pretending you're thrilled to carve stone for 14 hours straight is far safer than admitting otherwise. And don't even imagine rebellion. Pharaohs squash revolts faster than you can whisper, "New dynasty." Ask the last town that tried to skip paying taxes. Actually, you can't. It's gone. So yes, the pharaoh is divine. And you? You're simply privileged to sweat on his behalf. Now get moving. If you thought the sun was your biggest enemy, just wait. Because in ancient Egypt, sand isn't just scenery. It's your roommate, your coworker, your unwanted spice blend, and your daily tormentor. It hides in your clothes, your bedding, your meals, everywhere. Escape is impossible. You can be working, praying, shopping, or minding your own business, and suddenly a hot desert gust rolls through and gives you a face full of gritty exfoliation you did not request. Let's talk clothes, linen. Yes, it's cool and airy. And yes, it blocks sand about as effectively as a sieve blocks water. The grains slide right down your tunic, stick to your skin, and somehow migrate into crevices you weren't previously aware existed. Eating, that's not safer either. Good luck finding a meal that isn't half desert. Every loaf of bread is basically a miniature sandbox. Since grain was crushed between stone slabs, tiny shards of grit ended up mixed right into the flour. Egyptians didn't just eat wheat, they unintentionally chewed on their grinding tools too. That's why so many ancient skulls show teeth worn flat, like polished pebbles. Imagine trying to enjoy breakfast while accidentally sharpening your molars every single day. And if you think your house offers a break from the grit, Absolutely not. Your mud brick home has cracks, gaps, and window holes with nothing covering them. Perfect entry points for drifting sand. Your floor is dusted. Your pots are gritty. Your bed? A sandpit cosplaying as furniture. Shoes aren't much help either, because most Egyptians simply went barefoot, meaning your feet slowly turn into something resembling old, cracked sandals. If you do own footwear, it's probably simple reed sandals. Stylish in a primitive way, protective in absolutely no way at all. And then come the sandstorms, Egypt's version of a divine slap to the face. Sudden, swirling chaos. One minute you're chatting with a neighbor, the next you're coughing, spitting dust, and blinking through what feels like a bucket of powdered desert being dumped in your eyes. Visibility plummets. Everyone becomes ghostly outlines, and the air turns into gritty soup. Bottom line, sand is the roommate who refuses to move out. It's the extra seasoning in your meals, the thief of your dignity, and the quiet attacker of your lungs and eyes. It doesn't just surround your life, it becomes part of you. And no, washing won't save you. The Nile you bathe in is carrying plenty of sand too. Now, onto religion, because in ancient Egypt, faith isn't a hobby. It's the master program running your entire existence. Your work schedule, what you eat, how you clean yourself, how you sleep. Everything revolves around what the gods want, and they have a lot of opinions. First thing to understand, the gods are everywhere. Your town probably has temples for a dozen different deities, each in charge of something vital. There's Ra, steering the sun across the sky like a celestial taxi driver. Thoth, the ibis-headed god of knowledge, overseeing writing and lunar calendars. Sobuk, the crocodile-headed terror, ruling the Nile. Badet, the cat goddess, practically managing vibes and public morale. Forget the idea of personal choice. Your entire day is shaped around keeping these divine beings happy. Wake up and thank Ra, spill some beer for good measure. Whisper an apology to the household spirits. Stifle your curses, or risk inviting a supernatural grudge holder straight into your life. Before meals, you'd leave a small portion of food for the gods. Before sleeping, you'd whisper prayers so the god of chaos didn't decide to remodel your life overnight. Even funerals stretched over several days, because the dead had a whole obstacle course to get through, dodging monsters, answering divine questions, and proving they weren't awful humans. Fail, and poof, erased forever. And when it comes to the afterlife, no one took it more seriously than the ancient Egyptians. Dying wasn't a simple game over. Your soul had to stand trial. Your heart was weighed against the feather of truth. If it tipped heavier, thanks to dishonesty, cruelty, or maybe borrowing your neighbor's goat without asking, the beast Amit devoured you. Crocodile head, lion torso, and legs that were basically nightmare fuel. In other words, even the afterlife had performance evaluations. But here's the interesting part. None of this scared Egyptians. It reassured them. They believed life fit into a grand cosmic order. And if you honored Ma'at, the principle of truth, balance, and harmony, you earned a serene eternity with loved ones, food, and perhaps your own little boat. Of course, being wealthy definitely improved your chances of divine attention. Temples towered over cities, priests held incredible influence, and common people mostly crossed their fingers and hoped the gods were in a generous mood. Because in ancient Egypt, faith wasn't optional. It was your job, your safety net, and your travel plan for the world beyond. And if you stepped on something nasty, got bitten by an unknown creature, or caught a random illness, which, frankly, was just a normal Tuesday, you go seek medical help. Just don't expect clean rooms or metal instruments. Healing was a mix of practical knowledge, magical chance, and enthusiastic confidence. The physician, surprisingly advanced for their time, would bring out surgical tools, medical papyri, and real anatomical insight. Yet every treatment had a mystical twist. They might apply honey, moldy bread, and crushed herbs. Oddly enough, honey kills bacteria, and mold includes early forms of penicillin, so the remedy actually had some science behind it. But before it touched your skin, the healer would recite a protective incantation. After all, who could say whether your stomachache came from spoiled food or a grumpy spirit holding a grudge? Got a headache? Prepare for someone to massage mashed onions into your scalp while chanting a hymn to some helpful deity. Coughing nonstop? No problem. They'll smear a blend of cow dung and dates on your chest and hope the universe approves. Serious infection? Time for a delightful concoction of lizard blood washed down with beer, plus a prayer to whatever god oversees risky medical procedures. To be fair, real medical treatments did exist. Abscesses were opened, bones were realigned, wounds were sewn together with linen fiber. But remember, no anesthesia, just a knife, a steady hand, and a friend gripping your arms while you yell into a sun-baked brick pillow. As for dental care, don't expect miracles. Thanks to all the sand hiding in their bread, people basically sandpaper their own teeth daily. When one rotted, your choices were endure the agony, die from it, or let someone yank it out with crude metal tools made by a blacksmith who probably specialized in horseshoes, not oral hygiene. And of course, there were amulets for everything. Giving birth. Wear an amulet. Getting stitches. Amulet. Sneeze a little too aggressively? Better add one more amulet for safety. After all, the real medical threat might just be a phantom serpent spiraling around your organs. Egyptian medicine had some brilliance, but most of the time your first line of treatment was faith, because your version of a band-aid was literally a magical charm. Now for a twist most people don't see coming. Ancient Egyptian women actually held more legal rights than women in many later cultures. They could buy land, run shops, sue their husbands, and even file for divorce. Sounds surprisingly modern, right? But don't start planning your time travel girl boss era just yet, because daily life, that was a whole different story. If you were a woman in ancient Egypt, your day began long before sunrise. First job, grinding massive piles of grain by hand on a rough stone slab, a workout that punishes both the wheat and your lower back. Then jaunts to the Nile to collect water, cooking meals, tending kids, managing the home, feeding livestock, and jumping into farm work when needed. Basically, you were a full-time multitasker draped in linen. Me time? Absolutely not. Spa days? Forget it. Maternity leave? Only in your dreams. Childbirth was grueling and dangerous. Midwives were around, yes, but there were no painkillers, no sterile tools, and definitely no calming playlists. You delivered your baby in a sweltering room filled with incense, chants, and prayers that things didn't go horribly wrong. Fashion? Light linen dresses kept you from melting in the heat, but underwear wasn't a thing, shoes were optional luxuries, and the sun roasted your skin daily. Sand crept into every crease of your clothing, and insects treated you like a walking buffet. Makeup wasn't for beauty, it was your armor against the very environment attacking you. Sure, Egyptian women used makeup, but their cosmetics were loaded with lead and applied using thin sticks that looked more like dangerous toothpicks than beauty tools. If you were born into a wealthy household, life definitely had perks. You might learn to read and write, oversee household finances, or even serve as a priestess. And if you were born into the royal bloodline, you could end up ruling the entire kingdom like Hatshepsut, or Cleopatra, who governed with sharp intelligence and eyeliner that could intimidate an army. But if you came from a poor family, your official rights didn't automatically translate to a comfortable life. The law might treat you as an independent person, but reality treated your body like free labor. You hauled, scrubbed, ground grain, fetched water, delivered babies, buried your dead, and kept praying you'd make it through another season. You weren't shackled by legislation. You were tied down by the constant need to survive. Even so, Egyptian women had real power where it counted. They could argue cases in court, maintain control of their inheritance, and marriage didn't turn them into someone's property. For the ancient world, that's borderline revolutionary. So yes, women in Egypt had rights, but luxury? That belonged to the goddesses carved in stone, not the exhausted woman kneading dough while shooing flies off a sticky toddler. You've pushed through another exhausting day in ancient Egypt. You've chewed your sandy bread, balanced heavy jars, avoided offending the gods, and maybe made it through a swirling sandstorm. Surely now you can rest? Absolutely not. Because the real challenge starts after you die. Death wasn't a finish line. It was the start of a long, paperwork-heavy adventure through the afterlife. If you thought your foreman was strict, wait until you meet the divine judges. Your soul's first stop is the Hall of Ma'at, where 42 gods sit in judgment. You must recite your innocence in what amounts to the oldest courtroom testimony in history. You declare things like, "I did not steal, I did not lie, and I did not desire my neighbor's donkey," all while hoping the gods accept your honesty, or at least your acting skills. Then comes the famous weighing of the heart. Your heart, believed to store your conscience and personality, is placed on a scale opposite the feather of Ma'at, the emblem of truth and cosmic order. If your heart tips the scale because it's heavy with wrongdoing, that's bad news, because that's when Ammit appears, part crocodile, part lion, part hippo, an entirely nightmare. She won't lecture you. She won't fine you. She simply devours your soul, erasing you from existence. No paradise, no reincarnation, no eternal journey. Just nothing. And in a society obsessed with immortality, that's the harshest punishment imaginable. And here's the kicker. One wrong statement during your declarations, one slip of the tongue, one accidental confession, and oops, you've doomed yourself forever. Slip up once during your divine interrogation, forget a single declaration, and poof, you're spiritually deleted. It's basically an open book exam where the penalty for getting one answer wrong is being eaten by a mythical soul shredder. But if you manage to pass every test, congrats. You officially earn your place in the field of reeds, a perfect, peaceful copy of Egypt where your spirit gets to live forever, complete with boats, crops, loved ones, and thankfully, fewer sand-loving parasites. But the pressure is brutal. That's why Egyptians were fanatics about tomb design, funerary rituals, and magical scrolls like the Book of the Dead, essentially a spiritual study guide packed with spells, instructions, and helpful reminders such as, maybe don't provoke the crocodile deity. The afterlife was glorious, yes, but only if you played life like a flawless performance. One swear word, one missed offering, one forgotten temple payment, and your eternity turns into a snack break for Ammit. Sweet dreams. If ancient Egypt offered one tiny kindness, it was linen, blessed, breezy linen. Everyone, from peasants to nobles, wore this airy plant-based fabric because it kept bodies from baking under the sun. That's the upside. The downside? Comfort stops right there. No matter your job, builder, farmer, priest, merchant, your wardrobe hardly changes. Men usually wear a simple linen kilt or a loincloth. Women wear long, straight dresses that may or may not have straps depending on the style. If you're rich, your outfit might have pleats, beads, or a bit of flair. If you're not, it's plain, off-white, and only gets whiter if you're brave enough to face laundry day. Speaking of laundry, imagine scrubbing your clothes by hand in the Nile while quietly hoping a territorial hippo doesn't pop up during the rinse cycle. Underwear? Mostly not a thing. Shoes? Also optional. Most people walk barefoot daily, while sandals made of reeds or leather are mostly for priests or special events. So unless you're lounging in a palace, get used to burning sand under your feet and the occasional mystery pebble stabbing your heel. Jewelry existed, but much of it was practical. Protective amulets, symbols of status, charms for luck. And yes, eye makeup made from dark coal wasn't just decorative. It cut down the sun's glare and supposedly kept infections away. Even eyeliner had responsibilities in Egypt. But fashion doesn't protect you from the real enemies. The insects. Flies, gnats, mosquitoes. They don't care how nicely you're dressed. To them, every outfit is an open invitation to feast. You go through your day brushing off flies, slathering on scented oils, and hoping your linen outfit doesn't glue itself to your body like a soggy curtain once the sun hits its full furnace setting. And don't expect a winter wardrobe either. Egypt basically has two modes, hot and slightly less hot. So your linen gear is your permanent uniform, whether it's a searing 110 degrees midday or a mildly cool 70 degrees evening. Sure, Egyptian clothing was airy, stylish, and honestly much kinder than the wool-heavy disasters later worn by the Romans. But don't let the floaty fabric fool you. Despite the light clothes, your daily life is still weighed down by brutal labor, blazing heat, endless sand, and insects that treat you like a walking buffet. After surviving yet another scorching day, carrying bricks, sprinting from sand gusts, and praying your outfit doesn't fall apart mid-job, you're still not out of danger. Because even if you're tough, you're unlikely to see your 40th birthday. Let's break it down. Making it past infancy is already a minor miracle, considering how many children never do. But if you survive that, congratulations. Adulthood starts at 13. Marriage, work, children, everything begins early because time is not on your side. You could die from a bad infection, heat exhaustion, childbirth complications, crocodiles, venomous bites, or simply chewing gritty bread until your teeth disintegrate. And without antibiotics, your treatment for illness is honey, herbs, and crossing your fingers that the gods aren't in a vengeful mood. Yet here's the irony. Egyptians didn't fear death. They prepared for it with more precision than modern people plan their retirements. If you're wealthy, you commission a tomb early on, essentially your deluxe eternal residence. You collect grave goods for years. Jewelry, food, perfumes, miniature statues, and little worker figurines called shabtis, tiny servants meant to handle all the afterlife chores while you relax forever. Your body undergoes mummification, cleansed, dried with natron salt, wrapped in layer upon layer of linen, and sealed inside a decorated coffin. Alongside you is a copy of the Book of the Dead, not a horror story, but a supernatural travel manual packed with spells, passwords, and instructions on how to avoid getting swallowed by any cosmic monsters you may encounter. If you're poor, your burial is much simpler. A shallow, sandy grave, a scrap of cloth as a shroud, maybe a pot or two as offerings. And that's it. No elaborate paintings, no gilded mask, just your body and the desert wind. But even those with nothing still clung to the same hope. The field of reeds, a perfect, calm version of Egypt where the sun is gentle, food is plentiful, the Nile is peaceful, and you work without sweat for all eternity. So yes, chances are you won't make it to old age in ancient Egypt. But if you lived decently, honored the gods, and avoided offending too many deities with animal heads, you might actually enjoy a comfortable eternity. You've completed the whole journey, mummified, anointed, wrapped tight, and laid to rest in your tomb. Peace at last, right? Not quite. Because in ancient Egypt, even the dead have trust issues. Here's the reality. Tombs are basically ancient treasure chests. Gold jewelry, protective amulets, scented oils, carved figurines, baskets of linen, and for pharaohs, enormous piles of loot. Even model boats meant for cruising the eternal Nile. Naturally, a room full of valuables in the middle of the desert is irresistible to anyone with a sharp tool and questionable morals. Tomb raiding became so widespread it turned into a national headache. Pharaohs tried everything: hiding tombs inside mountains, sealing entrances with stone slabs, building fake doorways, and covering walls with terrifying curses like "May a crocodile feast on your soul," or "May a flaming serpent twist your bones." Spoiler again, curses were more decorative than effective. Robbers still snuck in under cover of darkness. Some were locals. Others were the same laborers who constructed the tombs, bringing insider knowledge and a flexible sense of ethics. Even priests and guards occasionally joined the operation. And if you were caught, expect beatings, mutilation, exile, or a swift and ugly execution. But with gold, spices, tools, and rare goods inside, the temptation outweighed the danger for many. After all, mummies don't fight back. And it wasn't only pharaohs who lost their afterlife supplies. Ordinary graves got raided too. Poorer Egyptians might be buried with a jar of beer, a loaf of bread, or a simple tool, enough to attract thieves. In a land where famine struck, governments fell, and war ravaged the kingdom, people sometimes robbed tombs out of desperation, not greed. A burial snack could mean feeding your starving family. So in ancient Egypt, death doesn't equal security. Your tomb might be looted, your offerings stolen, your burial disturbed, and your carefully wrapped body torn open by someone with a chisel, a hungry stomach, and shaky ethics. Rest in peace, but only if no one can find your grave. We've all seen them, those elegant, puzzling symbols carved into tombs and temples. Birds, eyes, serpents, lotus blooms, and sideways strutting humans who look like they're posing on a catwalk. Ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, visually breathtaking, brutally hard to decode. They weren't just pretty wall art. Hieroglyphs formed a complete writing system with more than 700 symbols, and that number kept climbing. Some signs stood for entire ideas, others for sounds, and then there were determinatives, which acted like little clarifiers tacked onto the end of words. Because apparently spelling star with an actual star symbol alone just wasn't clear enough. And don't expect neat spacing or punctuation. Ancient Egyptian text was one continuous puzzle. No vowels, no breaks, and a whole lot of context dependence. To make matters even more confusing, hieroglyphs could run left to right to left, or even top to bottom. The reading hack look at which direction the animals or people face. If they stare right, you read right. If they face left, read left. If they're upside down, well, may the gods help you. Learning this system wasn't for everyday folks. Hardly anyone was literate, maybe 1% of the population. To join that elite crowd, you had to train as a scribe. That meant starting young, memorizing hundreds of symbols, copying endless texts, and writing so much that your hand probably turned into a permanent hook by your teenage years. But the reward was massive. Scribes were respected, well-fed, and rarely forced into grueling labor. These educated elites handled tax logs, legal papers, letters, and sacred manuscripts. Society depended on them, and they were shielded from the harsh, physical work everyone else endured. For common people, writing itself felt supernatural. Hieroglyphs were seen as magical. Putting someone's name in writing kept their spirit alive. Erasing it wiped them out of existence. So yes, getting the spelling perfect was literally a matter of life and death. So while hieroglyphs may resemble ancient emojis, they were more like a myth-soaked, logic-bending linguistic puzzle box. Gorgeous to look at, but absolutely not beginner-friendly. And after 14 chapters of blazing heat, hunger, superstition, sandstorms, and endless toil, it's time for the ultimate question. Could you make it through even one day in ancient Egypt? Let's be real. The answer is almost certainly no. It's easy to romanticize the ancient world. Golden tombs, lotus motifs, elegant hieroglyphs, gods with animal faces, and a culture obsessed with order and beauty. But behind those dazzling monuments and masterpieces was a harsh daily life that spared everyone except the privileged few. A normal Egyptian morning began on a dusty floor, surrounded by buzzing flies, with the grim understanding that if you didn't labor, you wouldn't eat. You trudged barefoot across scorching sand, fetched water by hand, cooked over smoky fires, and lived packed in with insects, livestock, and the constant haze of heat. Illness, curses, and the fear of waking up with a snake in your bedding were regular concerns. No toothpaste, no real medicine, no retirement. If fortune smiled on you, you might own a second set of linen clothes. You lived under the authority of a divine king who could strip away your property with a single decree, under a sun that burned you alive by midday, and within a belief system that demanded you pass a literal cosmic exam after death just to reach the pleasant version of eternity. And then there's everything you didn't have. No antibiotics, no sunscreen, no privacy, no toilets, no pain relief, no way out. The class you were born into was the class you died in. No promotions, no reinvention, no follow your passion era. You were a scribe, a farmer, a laborer, a parent, a servant, or a corpse. Yet somehow, the Egyptians weren't crushed by all this. They poured faith into their gods, their duties, and the joy they found in living. They celebrated with music, feasting, dance, and festivals. They joked, they painted, they dreamed. They envisioned eternity so vividly that they built stone structures meant to last longer than memory itself. And many still do. But if you dropped a modern human into that world, stripped of AC, filtered water, painkillers, comfortable shoes, or a phone, you'd collapse before the second sandstorm rolled in. So no, surviving even a single day in ancient Egypt is unlikely. But that's all right. They endured for millennia. And maybe that's exactly why their legacy still echoes. Far across the world, in ancient Teotihuacan, another monument refuses to fade from history. Its facade isn't decorated with gentle imagery of benevolent gods or peaceful symbols, but with rows of fierce, gaping stone serpents. They thrust outward from the temple walls, jaws open, fangs exposed, eyes glaring as though frozen in mid-lunge. This is the temple of the feathered serpent, often called the temple of Quetzalcoatl. Yet unlike other temples that seem to reach upward in worship, this one has a darker presence. From the moment you step toward it, it feels less like a sanctuary and more like a predator. There's an unsettling sense that the serpents aren't just carved into the stone, they're watching you. The carved serpent heads aren't just decorative stonework. They're warnings, embodiments of divine fury. And under their watch, something grim once took place. Over years of excavations, archaeologists uncovered findings far beyond what anyone initially imagined. Beneath the temple's foundations lay not mere ritual offerings, but something far more chilling. Human remains, not a few, but over 200. Many were headless, their arms tied behind them. Most were young men, likely warriors, buried in tightly organized clusters. These were ritual sacrifices arranged with deliberate, almost mathematical order. Some were interred with obsidian blades beside them, others wearing necklaces strung with human teeth or ornaments fashioned from jawbones. They weren't tossed randomly into pits. Each body was positioned with symbolic intention. This wasn't a chaotic burial site. It was a proclamation, a sacred transaction etched in stone, paid for in blood. But what kind of worldview demands such brutality? Who required that so many lives be taken in a single event? The Temple of the Feathered Serpent acted as far more than a sacred structure. It was a stage for political dominance, where leaders blended religion, warfare, and fear to hold sway over a massive urban population. And this large-scale sacrificing may have been seen as the price for keeping the universe aligned. Standing before this pyramid today, staring into the fanged stone faces, you're not just looking at architecture. You're peering into a society convinced that the gods hungered for blood and that they had the authority to feed them. But who were these people capable of such organized violence, who later disappeared without leaving even their name behind? The answer lies in the Twilight era before the mighty Aztecs rose, before the Maya etched their celestial knowledge into monuments. There existed a city unlike anything else in the ancient Americas, Teotihuacan, a name given centuries later by the Aztecs, meaning the place where gods were created. Walk down its colossal avenue of the dead, bordered by pyramids that pierce the sky, and the title suddenly makes perfect sense. At its zenith, between 100 and 250 CE, Teotihuacan thrived as a massive metropolis of over 100,000 people, one of the largest cities on Earth at the time. It rivaled Rome, Alexandria, and Chang'an in scale and cultural weight. Teotihuacan wasn't some chaotic sprawl. It was a city engineered with precision. Broad avenues, streets laid out in grids, giant residential complexes that housed extended families, and multi-level structures shaped from volcanic stone. And dominating the skyline were three colossal monuments: the Pyramid of the Moon, the Pyramid of the Sun, and the Temple of the Feathered Serpent. But here's the strangest part. We have no idea who created it. Truly, even now, the builders of Teotihuacan remain anonymous. We don't know what they called themselves, what language they spoke, or what their rulers' names were. There are no inscriptions, no royal portraits, no carved titles proclaiming kings. It appears the civilization may not have been led by a single monarch at all, perhaps a council, a religious elite, or an entirely different system of authority unlike anything else in the ancient world. Yet despite their secrecy, their impact stretched astonishingly far. Artifacts bearing Teotihuacan imagery have been uncovered hundreds of miles beyond the city, from the Maya strongholds of Tikal and Copan to the distant Zapotec center of Monte Alban. Their obsidian tools, ceramic traditions, murals, and even political influence radiated outward. In one remarkable case, envoys from Teotihuacan may have supported the overthrow of a Maya ruler to replace him with someone aligned with their own interests. So how did a civilization with no surviving script enforce such widespread influence? Perhaps the answer lies in their fusion of cosmic ideology and political power. Their monumental temples were more than sanctuaries. They were instruments of authority, aligned with celestial events, designed for dramatic sacrificial rites, and constantly reminding both citizens and foreigners that Teotihuacan was not just another city. It represented the center of the universe, a sacred mechanism where time, destiny, and blood were bound together. And at the very core stood the temple of the feathered serpent. To grasp the temple, you must first grasp its deity. It honored the feathered serpent, known centuries later to the Aztecs as Quetzalcoatl and to the Maya as Kukulkan. This being is one of the most puzzling figures in all Mesoamerican belief systems. But in Teotihuacan, long before the Aztecs ever existed, the feathered serpent already stood as a major, possibly paramount, divine presence. And here lies its paradox. What kind of god is both reptile and bird? Think about it. Serpents glide through the earth and the underworld, shedding their skin in endless cycles of renewal, symbolizing death, transformation, and the hidden realm below. Birds, meanwhile, fly high toward the heavens, representing freedom, divinity, and the breath of life. To merge these opposites, ground and sky, mortality and vitality, chaos and harmony, was to create a being of cosmic magnitude, something awe-inspiring, something fearsome. The feathered serpent wasn't just a deity. It was a conduit between realms. And across the temple's facade, carved in bold, deep relief, its presence dominates everything. Dozens of carved faces stare out from the temple walls. Round eyes, fierce expressions, elaborate feathered crests. Some scholars argue these depict the god himself. Others believe they represent warriors or high-ranking priests adorned in sacred attire to mirror his power. Whatever the truth, their presence is overwhelming. The entire structure is blanketed in these serpent bird figures, as if the temple itself inhales and exhales with divine force. But the feathered serpent wasn't simply a celestial deity. His domain was intimately entwined with sacrifice. Blood, not metaphorically but literally, was believed to keep the universe functioning. And while later Aztec myths softened Quetzalcoatl into a benevolent cultural hero, in Teotihuacan, he carried a far darker aspect. He required offerings, not just flowers, grain, or incense, but living beings. According to certain traditions, he once ventured into the underworld to gather the old bones of humanity and create life again. But creation always demanded balance. For life to return, something had to be surrendered. The gods offered themselves for mankind, and humans were expected to reciprocate. Thus, the Temple of the Feathered Serpent wasn't merely a shrine. It was a cosmic mechanism, a link between sky, earth, and the realms below. Every carving, every serpent head, every person buried beneath its stones was part of this grand exchange. Teotihuacan didn't only honor the feathered serpent. They enacted his worldview, duality, rebirth, power, and blood. For centuries, the darkest truths stayed hidden beneath the surface. The temple loomed quietly, worn by centuries, half reclaimed by soil and wind. Locals passed down stories, and scholars debated theories, but no one anticipated what lay beneath its stone skin. Not until excavations began in the late 1980s and early 2000s. What emerged was not simply surprising, it was chilling. Below the pyramid's foundations, archaeologists uncovered a network of sealed chambers and pits, each filled with intentionally placed human remains. These weren't victims of a battle, nor casualties of some epidemic. They were sacrifices, organized, calculated, ritual in every sense. Over 200 individuals, most of them young men between ages 15 and 25. Some were adorned with necklaces made from human jaws. Some were found with their wrists bound behind them. Several had been decapitated. Nearby lay obsidian blades, glossy, volcanic, razor-sharp, unmistakable instruments of ceremonial killing. And the most disturbing detail, the bodies were arranged according to precise geometric and symbolic rules. They weren't tossed in at random. They were placed in quadrant formations, each position deliberate, each victim part of a ritual design, oriented to the four directions, almost certainly symbolizing a cosmic map. The layout of the bodies wasn't accidental. Even the total count held ritual weight. These deaths weren't random. They were purposeful. Surrounding the sacrificed men were offerings, jaguar remains, snake bones, rare shells carried all the way from the Gulf Coast, figurines, and pristine obsidian blades untouched by battle. This wasn't punishment. It was ritual elevation. These young men, likely elite warriors, weren't killed in disgrace. They were chosen to die for something, not because of something. To the people of Teotihuacan, constructing a temple required life itself. Every tier of stone demanded consecration. Every foundation layer needed blood. The deeper archaeologists dug, the more offerings they uncovered. In one chamber, researchers found extensive tunnel systems coated in shimmering mica and pools that once held liquid mercury, material symbolically linked to the underworld. The ground glittered like flowing water. Was it meant to resemble the realm of the dead, or a reflection of the stars? The further the excavation went, the clearer it became. This temple wasn't simply erected over death. It was intentionally built around it. The stones weren't accidentally stained by sacrifice. They were crafted to contain sacrifice. Everything served the gods. Look more carefully at the temple of the feathered serpent, and a disturbing truth emerges. The structure isn't merely sitting on earth. It is aligned with the heavens. Teotihuacan's layout was deliberate. Its entire city grid follows a calculated astronomical plan. The Avenue of the Dead, the main artery, is angled about 15 degrees east of true north. Not an architectural mistake, but a cosmic choice. Some researchers believe this tilde aligns with the descent of the Pleiades. Others argue it matches the sun's position during important ceremonial dates. And the temple sits directly on this celestial axis, locked into a vast geometric and spiritual design. But what exactly were they syncing with? Scholars debate endlessly. Some think the temple marks the equinox sunrise. Others insist it's oriented around Venus, the celestial body most revered in Mesoamerica, often linked to warfare, sacrifice, and cycles of rebirth. When Venus appeared, wars were launched, offerings performed, fires lit atop temples. Even the temple's numeric patterns seem intentional. The recurring presence of the sacred number 7, connected to the 7 visible celestial bodies, appears in the stepped platforms. Everything moves with rhythm, symmetry, and an extraordinary grasp of mathematics and astronomy. And then there's what lies underground. In 2003, archaeologists uncovered a tunnel beneath the temple. Not a rough passageway, but a carefully engineered subterranean realm. The walls of the passage were once coated in crushed pyrite, a glittering gold mineral that would have thrown back every flicker of light like tiny stars. Paired with shimmering pools of liquid mercury and walls lined with mica, the entire tunnel appears crafted to imitate the night sky. Moving through it must have felt like drifting through the Milky Way itself, a symbolic descent into the underworld, or perhaps a ceremonial passage toward rebirth. The temple, then, may not have been merely a stage for sacrifice, but a kind of cosmic mechanism, a gateway binding the heavens, the earth, and the spiritual realms into one. Some researchers argue that the people of Teotihuacan viewed time not as a straight line, but as a cycle. Every ritual, every architectural layer, every offering of blood played into this endless rotation. Death birthing renewal, sacrifice ensuring continuity. The temple's cosmic alignments may have allowed priests to chart the heavens, time harvests, and most critically, determine when offerings should be made. This structure wasn't simply observing the stars, it was attempting to converse with them. Yet the Temple of the Feathered Serpent was more than a spiritual instrument. It was a political declaration. Its architecture was engineered to awe and intimidate, to announce to all, residents and outsiders alike, who commanded divine authority. Picture yourself arriving in Teotihuacan nearly 2 millennia ago. You approach along the Avenue of the Dead, dwarfed already by the immense scale of the city. But when you finally stand before the temple, you stop cold. Serpent heads seem to watch you, jaws open. Carved jaguars appear ready to pounce. The great plaza ahead once filled with crowds for rituals that were equal parts devotion and spectacle. You might even witness a sacrifice. The city's elite understood a timeless truth. Fear creates obedience, and nothing inspires fear like divine judgment. By conducting ritual killings in the open, framed by celestial symbols and iconography of death, they delivered a clear proclamation. The gods side with us, and we will nourish them without hesitation. But none of this was disorderly. It was ritualized drama. Priests in brilliant feathers and obsidian masks would chant and dance as blood flowed, transforming myth into theater. These ceremonies were more than acts of devotion. They were reminders to all who watched that Teotihuacan's rulers stood at the threshold between mortals and gods, and only through them could cosmic balance be maintained. Let's face it, ancient life was far from glamorous. The golden monuments, the lotus gardens, the towering pyramids, the animal-headed deities, and the painstakingly precise hieroglyphs may make it appear elegant from afar. But step into the shoes of a common Egyptian, and the shimmer fades fast. A day in this ancient land began on a dirt floor, swarming with flies, amid the hum of livestock, smoke, and dust, with a sharp awareness that skipping work meant skipping food. Bare feet scorched on sand heated by an unforgiving sun. Your hands were raw from hauling water, tending to crops, building, and cooking over open fires. Illness, insect bites, divine punishment, and predatory wildlife all lurked nearby. There was no modern medicine, no toothpaste, no retirement plan, no reprieve. Linen garments were sparse and precious, the luxury of fresh clothing rare. A pharaoh's whim could strip you of your land, a sudden flood could ruin your crops, and your afterlife was contingent on passing a divine audit that could erase you entirely. And yet, the Egyptians weren't miserable. Despite such brutality, they believed profoundly in the gods and in purpose. They celebrated life with music, dance, and festivals. They cherished family and food, imagining eternity with such vivid precision that they carved it into stone monuments that still command awe today. But even the hardiest modern person, armed with air conditioning, filtered water, Advil, sneakers, and smartphones, would crumble under the second sandstorm of the day. No, you wouldn't survive a single day in ancient Egypt, but they survived thousands of years. Perhaps that's why their monuments endure, long after their builders have turned to dust. One pyramid, a striking exception, refuses to be forgotten, its facade adorned not with peaceful symbols of faith, but snarling stone serpents. Eyes wide, fangs bared, twisting, frozen mid-strike, they stare down at the observer. You are looking at a temple, but not one that lifts you gently to the divine. It confronts you, warns you, demands reverence. These stone serpents are no mere embellishment. They are warnings, the etched faces of divine wrath. Beneath them, archaeologists discovered something that turns awe into horror. Excavations of the temple's base revealed not just ceremonial offerings, but over 200 human remains. Many were decapitated, hands bound behind their backs. Young men, possibly warriors, sacrificed in groups, interred with mathematical precision. Some carried obsidian knives at their sides. Others wore jewelry made from human teeth or jawbones. These were no casual burials. They were deliberate, symbolic, ritualistic. Death here was a message, an offering, a transaction with the divine encoded into stone and blood. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent, then, was more than a religious edifice. It was a theater of control, fusing cosmology, governance, and fear to maintain order in a city exceeding 100,000 inhabitants. Every act of bloodletting was intended to preserve cosmic equilibrium. To approach the temple is to look into the eyes of a civilization that believed the gods required sacrifice and that humans had every right and duty to deliver it. But who were the architects of this violence? Who commanded such precision and vanished into obscurity? The answer lies in the city known to later Aztecs as Teotihuacan, the place where gods were born, which predates Aztec power and towers over Mesoamerican history. At its zenith, roughly 100 to 250 CE, Teotihuacan was a meticulously planned metropolis, rivaling Rome, Alexandria, and Chang'an. Wide avenues, grid streets, sprawling multi-family apartment compounds, multi-story stone structures, all centralized around three monumental pyramids: the Pyramid of the Moon, the Pyramid of the Sun, and the Temple of the Feathered Serpent. And yet, the city's builders remain nameless. No inscriptions, no king's titles, no records identify them. Governance may have been collective, theocratic, or something beyond our comprehension of ancient authority. Yet their influence stretched hundreds of miles, evidenced by artifacts, obsidian, ceramics, and murals, reaching far beyond the Valley of Mexico into Maya and Zapotec territories. Teotihuacan emissaries may have even installed local rulers in neighboring cities, their power extending through diplomacy, ritual, and ideological reach. The city's temples were more than sacred structures. They were tools of control. They aligned with celestial events, orchestrated rituals of sacrifice, and transformed religion into political theater. Teotihuacan was a sacred engine, synchronizing cosmic order with social hierarchy, and at its heart sat the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, dedicated to a deity later known as Quetzalcoatl to the Aztecs and Kukulkan to the Maya. This god was a paradox, part serpent, part bird, a bridge between earth and sky, death and life, chaos and order. Serpents symbolize the underworld, death, and regeneration, while birds soar toward divinity, light, and life. Together, they created a divine duality that commanded both reverence and fear. The temple's facade bristles with carved serpent-bird hybrids. Some historians suggest representing the deity. Others argue they depict warriors or priests in divine regalia. Either way, they saturate the structure, breathing a sense of omnipresence. And the feathered serpent was not a benign deity. He required blood, human blood, to sustain cosmic balance. Rituals demanded more than maize or incense. Life itself was offered. In some myths, this god descended into the underworld to recover bones, crafting humankind from death. Humanity reciprocated, paying with lives in solemn exchange for existence. Beneath the temple, archaeologists discovered sealed chambers holding systematic human sacrifices, unearthed in the late 20th century. Over 200 young men, mostly between 15 and 25, were carefully arranged, hands bound, some decapitated, adorned with necklaces of human jawbones. Obsidian blades, dark and lethal, lay nearby. The placement of the bodies was deliberate, following geometric, symbolic, and cardinal arrangements, mirroring cosmic patterns. Sacrifice was not punishment but consecration. The temple was sanctified stone, ritual, and blood entwined. Artifacts of jaguar bones, exotic shells, mica, and mercury-lined tunnels reinforced the cosmic symbolism. Floors glittered like star-strewn water. Chambers replicated the cosmos, linking earth, sky, and underworld. Teotihuacan was a city built in alignment with the universe. The central avenue of the dead tilts 15.5 degrees from true north, possibly correlating with the Pleiades or equinox sunrises. Venus, sacred to Mesoamerican civilizations, dictated ritual calendars, warfare, and sacrifices. Even architectural dimensions encoded celestial knowledge, repeating sacred numbers and patterns. Beneath the temple, tunnels represented symbolic wombs, celestial passages, and ritual corridors connecting humans with gods. This celestial, symbolic architecture served political ends. Teotihuacan's rulers employed fear as power. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent confronted visitors with the gaze of stone serpents, jaguar motifs, and the plaza, once a stage for public ritual and execution. Sacrifices were not chaotic. They were carefully choreographed performances demonstrating divine authority and reinforcing societal hierarchy. Outsiders carried tales of awe, fear, and submission, spreading Teotihuacan's influence without force of arms. Here, myth and governance merged into an unbroken continuum. Yet this grandeur faltered. By 550 CE, the city experienced strain, drought, crop failures, social unrest. Elite compounds, temples, and administrative centers were burned and desecrated. Lower-class residential areas remained largely untouched, indicating internal rebellion rather than foreign conquest. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent was ransacked, sculptures defaced, ritual spaces desecrated. Trade, art, and ceremonial practices collapsed. Rulers vanished. The city's soul disappeared, though its monuments remained, silent yet imposing. Centuries later, the Aztecs encountered the ruins, awestruck, naming the city Teotihuacan, the place where gods were born. To them, these structures were divine. The temple, though a ruin, remained a relic of spiritual authority. The irony endures. The greatest city of its era vanished without a trace of its builders, leaving only stone, sacrifice, and unanswered questions. Modern archaeology, beginning in the early 20th century, unveiled Teotihuacan's secrets. Excavations revealed a precisely engineered city predating the Aztecs. By the 1980s and 2000s, the Temple of the Feathered Serpent revealed its most chilling features: a sealed tunnel beneath the temple, untouched for centuries, lined with pyrite to mimic starlight, pools of mercury, thousands of ritual artifacts, jade statues, rubber balls, obsidian blades, and wooden masks. Was it a womb of creation? An initiation corridor? A symbolic underworld? Every element suggested meticulous planning to preserve cosmic and spiritual knowledge. Each excavation unearthed more evidence. Human sacrifices embedded in the temple's foundation, objects designed to link earth and sky, tunnels emulating the cosmos. The feathered serpent persisted, not just in myth but in murals, carvings, and temple geometry, a divine presence encoded in the city's very bones. Despite modern tools, X-rays, drones, and radar, the temple retains secrets, holding stories of sacrifice, power, and cosmic order. Standing before the temple today, tourists snap photos, children play near the stone serpent heads, but the ground beneath them harbors thousands of untold stories. Over 200 human sacrifices have been confirmed. The temple endures, a testament not just to architectural genius, but to the intertwining of politics, religion, and cosmic understanding. Quetzalcoatl, reborn in Aztec myth, softened into a deity of wisdom and compassion, yet the legacy of the feathered serpent, the duality of creation and destruction, life and death, cosmos and blood, remains, resonating in Mexican art, literature, and national identity. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent challenges us to confront the consequences of belief, the price of connecting to the divine, and the terrifying, intertwined nature of power, religion, and ritual. Civilizations can rise to unimaginable heights while burying their secrets beneath stone. The temple reminds us that greatness carries shadows, that beauty can coexist with terror, and that myths endure, transform, and shape our understanding of humanity itself. Long before writing, long before structured language, rhythm, ritual, and sacrifice shaped civilizations. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent is not just an archaeological site. It is a window into the mind of a people who sought to control the cosmos, navigate life and death, and embed their presence eternally into stone, sacrifice, and story. It speaks across millennia, a haunting, awe-inspiring testament to human ambition, devotion, and the perpetual intertwining of life, death, and the divine. Long before words or melody existed, before humankind even conceived of music as we know it, there emerged something far more primal, far more elemental: rhythm. It began as the simplest acts of intentional sound: a hand striking hollow bark, a stick tapping stone, a foot pounding the earth in time. There was no name for it yet, no category, no language to contain it. Yet something miraculous flickered into existence, a pulse that seemed to vibrate through both body and soul: the first drumbeat. It was not music, nor mere noise. It was an articulation of emotion, movement, and collective consciousness. Somewhere in that repetition, humanity discovered that sound could become meaning, that a pattern could carry feeling, and that the invisible could be made tangible. Anthropologists have traced percussion instruments back over 30,000 years, from hollowed logs to gourds, from stretched animal hides to stones struck with rhythmic intent. They were crude by modern standards, yet they were not frivolous. They served critical purposes. Across dense forests and open plains, a single beat could convey urgency, announce ceremony, or summon kin. One drum, resonating across distance, could unify a scattered tribe, and perhaps most importantly, it could connect the human with the divine. Drumming was not entertainment. It was a vehicle of survival, an instrument of memory, a bridge between the tangible and the unseen. In the earliest communities, drums became extensions of the human body. The beat mirrored a heartbeat, externalized for all to feel. They weren't instruments one merely observed. They were to be joined in. Around fires, under a sky crowded with stars, within caves where echoes bent sound into something transcendent, humans experienced rhythm collectively. These early percussive expressions conveyed joy, grief, warning, anticipation, hope, and fear, all without words, all without symbols. They were, in essence, a language of the body, a conduit of emotion beyond speech. Even before the advent of flutes or stringed instruments, the drum anchored early societies. It structured ritual, punctuated ceremony, and united people across geographic and cultural divides. The first drum was not just an instrument. It was humanity's earliest declaration of collective identity. Every tribe, every culture, every corner of the globe discovered that striking an object in time with intention generated power, connection, and cohesion. Rhythm became a marker of the moment, a declaration of presence, a heartbeat of civilization itself. Across Africa, rhythm intertwined with life, death, and ancestry. Drums were sacred. The gem, carved from a single tree and wrapped in goatskin, was believed to house three spirits: that of the tree, the animal whose skin gave it sound, and the artisan who had breathed life into it. Drummers did not simply accompany rituals, they embodied them. The gem became ritual incarnate. Meanwhile, talking drums in West Africa could mimic speech, transmitting messages across miles. News of births, deaths, and warnings traveled on rhythmic waves long before telephones or messengers. The drum was the messenger, the medium, the living link between humans. Across the oceans, among Native American tribes, the drum symbolized the pulse of Mother Earth. Played in ceremonies, it guided souls, invoked healing, honored ancestors, and maintained the equilibrium of the community. Powwow drums, large and communal, were musical engines, spiritual engines, uniting drummers in a synchronized heartbeat that aligned human and cosmic rhythm. In Australia, Aboriginal peoples used clapsticks and stomps to navigate sacred dream time, the mythic era of creation, while in the Arctic, Inuit shamans struck drums to enter trance states, to commune with spirits in the long polar nights. Across the globe, these acts were not performances, they were lifelines. To drum was to remember, to survive, to connect. Drumming has always been communal. It built sacred circles, synchronized hearts, coordinated movement, and embedded intention. There was no sheet music, no stages, no audience hierarchy. It was a universal human language, transmitted from body to body, hand to hand, soul to soul. Across forests, deserts, tundra, and savanna, a drumbeat resonated as both signal and communion. Its sound was a marker of presence, a herald of what was sacred. A distant drum told listeners that something extraordinary was occurring, something words could not capture. As civilizations emerged, the drum's role expanded from communal ritual to instruments of strategy, governance, and control. Early armies had no radios, no megaphones, yet they had the drum. In ancient China, massive drums called bo coordinated troops across sprawling landscapes. A single resonant boom could signal advance, retreat, or tactical maneuvers. Soldiers, trained to interpret rhythms, acted with precision even amid chaos. In Mesopotamia, temple drums announced rulers, summoned the populace, and in times of war, reverberated against city walls, striking terror into enemies. Rhythm became a psychological weapon, a means to command obedience and awe. The Romans adopted percussion differently, emphasizing ceremonial and symbolic functions. Frame drums, timpani, augmented processions, festivals, and religious rites. They embodied authority and structure, the sound of order and empire. But it was the Ottomans who elevated drums to an unprecedented martial crescendo. Their Mater bands, often considered the earliest military orchestras, deployed colossal kettle drums, double-headed bass drums, cymbals, and horns, creating an overwhelming wall of sound. European accounts describe entire armies paralyzed by the auditory onslaught before combat began. In Asia, Africa, and Europe, drums resounded in royal courts, marking arrivals, coronations, and ceremonies. Sound became authority, rhythm became command. Drums also served oppressed peoples as instruments of resistance. Enslaved Africans in the Americas used rhythms to preserve culture, convey coded messages, and orchestrate acts of rebellion. Even in bondage, drums refused silence. They carried the pulse of identity and defiance, translating resistance into vibration. Across civilizations, drums announced power, signaled command, and reinforced hierarchy. They defined human structures from the battlefield to the palace, from village square to secret circle. Drums were power articulated in sound. Over centuries, the drum evolved along two major trajectories. In Eastern cultures, percussion emphasized precision, spirituality, and ceremonial discipline. In Western contexts, drums developed martial, structural, and eventually orchestral sophistication. Both paths preserved the drum as a medium of power, ritual, and emotional articulation. In India, drums became sacred instruments of divine communication. The tabla, with its intricate tonal palette and expressive fluidity, transcended accompaniment. Each stroke held a syllabic identity, a named rhythm, a communicative purpose. Tabla players became linguistic artisans, transforming rhythm into speech and music into narrative. This symbiosis of rhythm and meaning reflected a broader truth. Across every culture, every epoch, and every geography, drums were inseparable from the spiritual and social fabric of human life. In Africa, they summoned ancestral spirits. In Asia, they aligned humans with cosmic cycles. In the Americas, they connected tribes with the pulse of nature and the wisdom of forebears. In Europe, they codified military discipline and civic hierarchy. Even when human voices were silenced, the drums spoke. When empires rose and fell, when revolutions ignited, when ceremonies honored life and death, the drum endured as a witness and participant. Drums, in their essence, are universal because they resonate with our most innate faculties: heartbeat, breath, and movement. The primal human pulse, the rhythm of life, finds expression through percussion. The first beat was not entertainment. It was connection, an assertion that humans exist within time, space, and community. Every drum thereafter became a link in a chain connecting individual to tribe, human to environment, mortal to divine. Even when civilization advanced, when music diversified into strings, winds, and keyed instruments, the drum retained its centrality. Its lessons endure. The drum is more than sound. It is time made audible, emotion made tangible, unity made manifest. It has accompanied the human journey from hunter-gatherer encampments to palace courts, from battlefield strategies to spiritual ceremonies. Its evolution mirrors that of humanity itself. In Africa, djem, talking drums, and ceremonial drums continued to transmit stories, mediate disputes, and preserve lineage. In India, tabla and mridangam carry divine conversation through rhythm. Across the Americas, powwow drums, native shamanic instruments, and ceremonial percussive systems bind generations to ancestral wisdom. Even in modern orchestras, jazz ensembles, and global music festivals, the drum remains central, carrying the dual roles of heartbeat and herald, unifier and communicator, mediator of sacred and temporal realms. The drum's power lies not only in sound, but in its ability to transform perception. It bridges divides between the living and dead, the physical and spiritual, the individual and collective. Its rhythms convey complex messages without words, shaping societies, sanctifying spaces, and galvanizing communities. It can soothe, terrify, unify, and instruct, all through time, motion, and resonance. And so, from the first human striking bark to the tabla virtuoso, from the powwow circle to Ottoman military orchestras, the drum has been humanity's voice in its purest, most primal form. It has narrated our fears, celebrated our joys, orchestrated our wars, sanctified our rituals, and bound us to one another in rhythm that transcends language, geography, and time. To understand the drum is to understand the human story itself, the desire to communicate beyond words, to assert presence in a vast universe, to synchronize hearts and minds in a shared temporal flow. Across 30,000 years, across continents and cultures, drums have beaten the story of us, a story of survival, identity, devotion, resistance, and transcendence. The drum remains, echoing through history, the pulse of humanity, relentless, eternal, and alive. It is more than music. It is ritual. It is warning. It is joy. It is grief. It is power. It is community. It is life. Across the world, drums have existed not merely as instruments, but as vessels of human expression, embodiments of ritual, and conduits of divine energy. In Japan, the taiko drum rose to prominence as a massive ceremonial instrument, its resonant voice commanding attention in Shinto rituals, traditional theater, and even the theater of war. Taiko performance demanded rigorous discipline. Drummers adopted stances reminiscent of warriors, grounding themselves as if preparing for battle, every movement executed with martial precision. Each strike reverberated through mountain valleys, believed to dispel malevolent spirits and summon the presence of the gods. Across the Indonesian archipelago, The kendang drum guided the flow of gamelan orchestras, shaping the rhythm of dance and musical performance within sacred temple grounds. These rhythms were complex, interwoven, almost celestial, evoking harmony that mirrored the cosmos itself. In Europe, drums followed a different trajectory. During the medieval period, they were utilitarian tools, signaling soldiers, marking time, and maintaining order. They were not instruments of spiritual communion, but instruments of function. Only during the Renaissance and Baroque periods did drums begin to find a place in formal music, often restrained, supporting the grandeur of royal fanfares, or echoing through cathedral halls and timpani bursts that reinforced both awe and structure. Across continents, however, both East and West understood an essential truth. The drum could shape time, dictate pace, connect humans, and elevate rituals. Whether as a spiritual tool or an instrument of order, its resonance transcended mere sound. From mountaintop temples to jungle clearings, desert fires to candlelit cathedrals, drums have always served as mediators between humanity and the sacred. Before organized religions codified prayer, humans used rhythm as a sacred language. In Africa, the drum was not an object, but a living being. The bata drum, for instance, spoke directly to the orishas, the gods and ancestors. Drummers were not performers, but priests. Each pattern was an encoded prayer, guiding divine attention, commanding presence, and inviting spirits into the material world. Each beat carried intention, each rhythm a direction. In Hinduism, the drum appears even in the hands of deities. Shiva, in his form as Natraja, performs the cosmic dance of creation and destruction, striking the small, hourglass-shaped damaru. Its rhythm is not mere sound. It is the pulse of the universe, a reminder that all existence emerges from cosmic vibration. The drum is divine, bridging silence and sound, void and form. In Buddhism, frame drums punctuate monastic chants and meditative practices. They're deliberate, measured strikes serve as guides, attuning breath and focus. They are neither aggressive nor intrusive. Rather, they act as anchors, bringing practitioners back to the present with each reverberation. Across the Americas, indigenous peoples employed drums in vision quests, sweat lodges, and healing ceremonies. Their rhythmic patterns mimic the heartbeat, creating a steady pulse that guides participants in a trance, into communion with the ancestors, into alignment with spiritual rhythms. In these contexts, the drum does not accompany prayer, it embodies it. Even within Christianity, especially in African American gospel traditions, the drum serves as a conduit for divine presence. It becomes a heartbeat behind lifted voices, amplifying both devotion and communal spirit. Across faiths, cultures, and continents, the drum consistently emerges as a vessel of energy, intention, and transcendence. Through millennia, the drum's evolution was both cultural and technological. For thousands of years, it was a solitary instrument. One player, one sound, one purpose. But the industrial age brought radical transformation. Factories, theaters, and urban music halls demanded efficiency. Multiple percussionists, once required for military bands or theatrical performances, needed consolidation. By the late 1800s, instruments began to merge, culminating in the birth of the modern drum kit. The 1909 patent of the bass drum pedal revolutionized playing, allowing one foot to strike a large drum while freeing the hands for other components. Hi-hats, toms, cowbells, and cymbals were gradually incorporated, enabling a single drummer to emulate an entire percussion ensemble. The drum kit did not merely represent convenience. It became a throne, a new instrument of narrative. When jazz emerged in New Orleans and Chicago, the drum kit was elevated to unprecedented expressive heights. No longer confined to timekeeping, drummers like Gene Krupa and Buddy Rich wielded their kits as lead instruments, shaping the phrasing, energy, and storytelling of the ensemble. Jazz drumming introduced syncopation, swing, and subtlety, transforming rhythm into dialogue. As jazz evolved into rock, the drum kit expanded further, embracing multiple toms, double bass pedals, and diverse cymbals. Drummers such as John Bonham, Neil Peart, and Keith Moon redefined physicality, endurance, and expression, shifting the drummer from a background role to the central engine of musical performance. Today, the drum kit stands as a global institution, from gospel churches to electronic dance music festivals, from punk garages to stadium tours. Digital kits and drum machines extend possibilities, yet the tactile presence of live percussion, sticks meeting skins, sweat flying, energy channeling through bodies, remains irreplaceable. It represents centuries of human ingenuity, cultural adaptation, and spiritual expression. Across continents, drums retain distinctive cultural identities. In West Africa, the djem continues to unite communities, facilitating storytelling, communal participation, and spiritual connection. The dun-dun provides the fundamental pulse, anchoring the ensemble while allowing improvisation, dialogue, and celebration. These drums are more than instruments. They are communicative bridges between the living and the ancestral. In the Middle East, the goblet-shaped doumbek, crafted from clay or metal, delivers sharp, articulate rhythms vital to classical and folk traditions, compelling precision from players and dancers alike. Caribbean and Latin American drums, conga, bongo, timbales, reflect complex histories of cultural fusion. In Cuba, bata drums serve Santeria rituals, each rhythm speaking directly to the orishas, while Brazil's samba drums animate street parades, balancing joyous celebration with ritualistic heritage. In India, rhythm and melody converge within the tabla and mridangam. Each stroke of these drums is meticulously tuned, its sound carrying linguistic and symbolic meaning. The tabla, for instance, transforms rhythm into conversation, encoding centuries of musical theory and spiritual expression within hand movements. Frame drums, among the oldest instruments known to humanity, appear from Persian dafs to Irish bodhrans, providing rhythm that spans cultures, eras, and ceremonies. The drum has maintained a unique duality throughout history: sacred and secular, personal and communal, functional and expressive. Its evolution mirrors human civilization itself, from primal rhythms echoing in caves to the ceremonial taiko and kendang, from battlefield drums of the Chinese and Ottomans to the modern drum kit's expansive reach. Percussion has consistently mediated the human experience. It marks identity, articulates intention, channels emotion, and connects humanity with realms beyond the tangible. Drums are at once instrument, storyteller, priest, soldier, and spiritual guide. They codify power, transmit news, sanctify space, and provide psychological reinforcement. Whether driving armies, coordinating ritual, preserving culture under oppression, or expressing the subtleties of jazz, percussion maintains an unbroken lineage that unites past and present, earth and cosmos, body and spirit. Even in our modern, digitized world, drums retain their ancient magic. Their rhythms continue to dictate communal energy, focus meditation, accompany celebrations, and maintain traditions passed down through countless generations. From the primal hand on bark to the intricate syncopations of contemporary drummers, each beat resonates with history, culture, and sacred intent. The drum story is not only the story of music, it is the story of humanity itself. It embodies our ingenuity, our spirituality, our resilience, and our ability to communicate without words. It traces the journey from the first rhythmic pulse to the symphonies, parades, rituals, and performances of today. It reminds us that sound can be sacred, that rhythm can unite, and that one simple beat can echo across continents and millennia. Drums continue to live and breathe across every culture, retaining their power to organize, to console, to inspire, and to connect. They serve as reminders of both who we were and who we may become. Across deserts, mountains, forests, and cities, the drum continues its eternal mission: to call, to answer, to resonate, and to beat in time with humanity's heart. Whether carved from wood, struck in a village square, vibrating through cathedral stone, or electrified on a modern stage, the drum remains humanity's oldest, most versatile, and most essential voice. It is an instrument, a language, a heartbeat, a vessel of the sacred, and a testament to the unbroken rhythm of civilization. From the earliest shamanic circles to vibrant folk ensembles, played with hands, mallets, or delicate brushes, the drum has consistently held sacred significance. Its form may be simple, yet its power is profound. What unites drums across the globe is not construction or material, but purpose. Whether guiding movement, accompanying dance, facilitating healing, driving ritual, or sparking revolution, every drum reflects the spirit of the people who fashioned it. Each rhythm encodes geography, culture, and history, bridging the intimate with the communal. Across the continents, from Africa to Asia, the Americas to Europe, the drum forms a family that is at once diverse and universal. The planet itself resonates with rhythm, pulsing as though acknowledging a collective heartbeat. By the late 20th century, the character of drumming began to shift, not in its function, but in its sonic texture. The human touch, the raw immediacy of sweaty palms striking taut hides or hollow wood, began sharing space with circuits, sensors, and digital interfaces. Drumming entered a new epoch, the age of electronic percussion. It began modestly, with early analog machines in the 1970s. Devices like the Rhythmican and Roland SAR 78 simulated basic beats with mechanical precision. Their sounds were cold, somewhat robotic, but musicians saw potential beyond mere mimicry. The promise lay in consistency, control, and boundless creative flexibility. The revolution accelerated in 1980 when Roland released the TR-808. Its booming bass, metallic snares, and synthetic textures became foundational for genres such as hip-hop, techno, electro, and trap. These machines no longer merely replicated acoustic drums. They created entirely new sonic vocabularies. Digital percussion instruments soon evolved further, culminating in electronic kits that allowed performers to trigger thousands of sampled or synthesized sounds with the same natural motions used on traditional drums. Drummers could practice silently, record without microphones, and shift between drum setups instantly. Computers and digital audio workstations such as Ableton Live, FL Studio, and Logic Pro democratized rhythm production, empowering individuals to construct intricate, multi-layered percussive landscapes from a single laptop. Finger drumming, once unthinkable, became an art form. Some purists feared this transformation signaled the demise of traditional drumming, replacing the human heartbeat with machine precision. Yet instead of replacement, hybridization emerged. Acoustic drummers integrated electronic triggers and samples, blending human nuance with technological innovation. Producers layered human performance over programmed beats, fusing the organic and synthetic. Ancient grooves could now coexist with futuristic textures, creating a global rhythm that honored tradition while exploring new frontiers. Today, a single individual in a bedroom studio can generate rhythmic complexity once requiring orchestras of dozens, combining African, Asian, and American ancestral patterns with contemporary electronic sounds. Despite technological shifts, the fundamental purpose of drumming has remained unchanged: to shape time, to move bodies, to speak beyond language. From fire-lit tribal circles to neon-lit dance floors, from sacred rituals to concert halls, the drum has always served as a medium of connection. It links us to ourselves, to one another, and to the wider cosmos. Its earliest role is perhaps literal. Even before birth, we encounter rhythm in the steady beat of our mother's heart. That initial pulse, stable and life-affirming, becomes the first anchor of experience. From that moment onward, humans chase rhythm, in joy, in grief, in celebration, and in protest. Drumming has accompanied rulers and rebels alike. It has echoed through temples, markets, and subterranean tunnels. Its language is universal, transcending words and engaging the body directly. In mourning, we drum to honor life. In ecstasy, we drum to express collective joy. In the spaces between, the drum reminds us of continuity, of memory, of shared existence. Today, percussion continues to evolve organically. Street performers weave rhythms on city corners. Indigenous communities preserve ancestral drumming traditions against all odds. Stadium drummers synchronize tens of thousands of people with a single pulse. Children pound on kitchenware instinctively, joyfully asserting rhythm. Even artificial intelligence experiments with beats, yet no algorithm can replicate the subtle imperfections, emotional depth, and spiritual resonance of human drumming. The drum endures because it is felt as much as it is heard. It provides a grounding pulse, a shared human heartbeat across centuries. The physical act of striking skin with stick, hand, or mallet remains profoundly satisfying and deeply human, even amidst the rise of virtual instruments. Stick meets hide, breath meets sound, intention meets vibration. It is an unbroken lineage that spans the globe, linking humanity across time and space. And yet, while rhythm connects us to ancient human instincts, human civilization itself was preparing to stretch beyond the earth in other ways. Long before Manhattan became a metropolis of glass, steel, and soaring towers, it was an island dominated by shadows cast not by skyscrapers, but by church steeples and sloped rooftops. In the early 1800s, the city's footprint hugged the southern tip of the island. Urban density was increasing, yet buildings rarely exceeded 5 or 6 stories. Ambition alone could not overcome physics. Stone and brick were heavy, requiring thick walls and massive foundations to support height. Constructing upward came at great cost, and for the working city, horizontal expansion was far more practical. Yet beneath the surface, Manhattan harbored a latent strength, its bedrock. Deep, dense granite formed an unyielding spine, ready to bear loads unimaginable in the early 19th century. For now, it lay dormant, waiting for ingenuity and ambition to harness it. Life above ground thrived at street level. Horses clattered over dirt-packed roads, commerce bustled along the harbor, and waves of immigrants swelled the population. Growth radiated outward along the 1811 Commissioner's Plan grid, one of the boldest urban designs of the era, yet the sky remained largely untouched. Vertical statements came primarily from churches, most prominently Trinity Church, whose spire, completed in 1846, soared 280 feet. For decades, it was the tallest structure in the city, but even this was symbolic rather than practical. The skyline of Manhattan would remain limited until two breakthroughs simultaneously challenged the constraints of gravity and imagination. The first was the elevator. In 1852, Elisha Otis demonstrated his revolutionary safety lift at the New York Crystal Palace. Suspended above a crowd, he ordered the supporting rope to be cut. Gasps filled the room as the platform remained suspended, secured by a mechanism that would prevent freefall. Otis had transformed vertical ambition. No longer were top floors inaccessible or undesirable. Elevators would unlock the potential for multi-story construction, changing the economics and possibilities of urban life forever. The second innovation, structural rather than mechanical, would come from iron and steel. The materials of the Industrial Revolution, when applied ingeniously, allowed buildings to rise far higher than stone or brick alone. Where previously walls had to thicken exponentially to bear the weight of each story above, iron skeletons could support massive loads while allowing lighter facades and flexible interior layouts. The combination of Otis's elevator and skeletal steel frames heralded the skyscraper era, buildings were now free to climb skyward, and Manhattan's skyline would stretch higher and higher, limited only by human ambition and imagination. These architectural advancements mirror humanity's ongoing engagement with rhythm and scale. Just as drummers mastered beats and polyrhythms to command space and attention, architects, engineers, and visionaries harnessed technology to transform space itself. From the rhythmic pulse of drum beats to the soaring pulse of steel and stone, humans were learning to master time, space, and perception. Both endeavors required discipline, creativity, and intuition. The drum disciplined the body and the mind. The skyscraper disciplined gravity and material. Both created awe, command attention, and orchestrated human experience on scales both intimate and monumental. In retrospect, rhythm and verticality are linked by a shared principle: human aspiration. Whether through a drumbeat that unites hearts or a building that unites space, humans are drawn to transcend limits. In drumming, we reach beyond mere sound to spiritual and communal expression. In architecture, we reach beyond horizontal constraints to shape the physical environment. Both demand mastery over tools and materials, both require vision, and both communicate power, identity, and intent. The evolution of percussion from primal hand drums to electronic kits parallels urban growth. Both move from simplicity to complexity, from instinct to intentionality, from communal ritual to individual mastery, and back to shared experience. Digital drumming may condense orchestras into a single performer, just as elevators and steel frames condense urban opportunity into towering edifices. In both cases, the fundamental purpose remains connection. Connection of people through rhythm, connection of space through vertical ambition, connection of past to present through innovation. Drums, elevators, skyscrapers, each represents humanity's negotiation with limits. The drum negotiates the limits of human endurance, coordination, and emotion. The elevator negotiates gravity. Steel and reinforced concrete negotiate the limits of material and imagination. In every era, humans have sought to extend, amplify, and articulate their presence. In music, in architecture, in society. Both rhythm and skyline mark identity, declare power, and signal progress. Both are monuments, one auditory, one structural, but each rooted in culture, history, and vision. And so, the drum continues its journey. From shamanic circles to digital pads, from communal worship to stadium concerts, it remains a universal connector, transcending culture, era, and technology. Similarly, Manhattan's skyline continues to evolve, each new tower a response to ambition, innovation, and societal rhythm. Both teach a shared lesson. Structure and pulse, like music and architecture, are inseparable from human aspiration. Both echo a collective heartbeat that binds past, present, and future into a continuous rhythm of existence. The drum is never silent, nor is human ambition dormant. Across millennia, both teach the same lesson. With imagination, discipline, and courage, humans transform the raw materials of earth, body, and sound into structures, both musical and architectural, that endure, inspire, and speak across time. From fire-lit caves to neon-lit cityscapes, from the first heartbeat in the womb to the foot on an elevator pedal, rhythm and verticality are intertwined, bound by humanity's enduring need to move, ascend, and create. In the early days of Manhattan, climbing stairs was an arduous and unappealing task. Few people desired to traverse more than a handful of flights, leaving upper floors underutilized and undesirable. Yet the advent of safe, reliable elevators transformed the calculus entirely. Suddenly, height was no longer a liability. It became a luxury. Upper floors offered sunlight, air, and status, and as elevators grew practical and widely trusted, vertical space acquired economic value. The city was poised for a transformation, But access alone wasn't enough. Buildings were still dependent on massive load-bearing walls. As structures climbed, walls had to grow thicker, interiors shrank, and foundations deepened. Without another breakthrough, vertical ambition remained constrained. That breakthrough came in the form of the steel skeleton. By the late 19th century, engineers and architects began experimenting with steel frameworks capable of supporting the immense weight of multi-story buildings. Unlike traditional masonry, where exterior walls carried the load, steel allowed structures to be suspended from internal skeletons. Walls became curtains, mere skins that enclosed space rather than structural anchors. This innovation, known as steel frame construction, unlocked an unprecedented freedom. Height was no longer a risk, but a deliberate strategy. Architects could now design buildings to soar as high as their engineering and imagination would allow. Manhattan was the perfect proving ground. Its dense geography, combined with booming commerce and finance, encouraged vertical thinking. The bedrock beneath the island was solid and deep, capable of supporting immense weight. The city's financial institutions, newspapers, and corporate headquarters all competed to assert their presence. For banks, publishers, and magnates, the sky became a canvas on which to project influence, prestige, and ambition. The elevator made the heights accessible. The steel frame made the heights buildable. Together, they redefined not just architecture, but what a city could signify. By the 1890s, the race for the sky had begun in earnest. The New York World Building, completed in 1890 and commissioned by newspaper magnate Joseph Pulitzer, rose 20 stories above Park Row, briefly claiming the title of the world's tallest office building. It was a bold declaration. To build high was to announce power, modernity, and vision. In 1899, the Park Row building overtook the World Building, each new tower representing not only height but ambition. Standing hundreds of feet above the crowded streets, these structures were statements, visible from miles away, symbols of a city confident in its destiny. The early 20th century saw this ambition accelerate. In 1908, a new skyscraper reached 612 feet, surpassing the spire of Trinity Church, which had held New York's vertical record for over half a century. But even this would soon be eclipsed. In 1913, the Woolworth Building, designed by Cass Gilbert and financed entirely by retail titan Frank W. Woolworth, soared 792 feet over 55 stories. Dubbed the Cathedral of Commerce, its neo-Gothic detailing transformed steel into artistry. The Woolworth Building was more than a structure. It was a declaration that America had arrived as a modern power, blending technical achievement with aesthetic ambition. Yet, the race for height was as much about image and branding as engineering. Corporations and institutions competed fiercely to claim the tallest, most distinctive structures, each tower a permanent signature on the skyline. Headlines heralded every new record, each silhouette announcing the city's and its occupants' prominence. Beneath the surface, the physical labor was relentless. Steam shovels excavated foundations into granite bedrock, riveters pounded steel day and night, and immigrant workers balanced on narrow beams hundreds of feet above the streets, often without safety harnesses. Their courage, skill, and endurance brought the skyline from theory into reality. The 1920s ushered in an era of stylistic ambition alongside technical achievement. Manhattan's skyline began to dance, not merely rise. The Art Deco movement infused architecture with elegance, geometric precision, and dynamic ornamentation. Buildings were designed to capture light, create shadows, and suggest movement, transforming the skyline into a visual symphony. The Chrysler Building, completed in 1930, epitomized this era. At 1,046 feet, it briefly held the title of the world's tallest building. Commissioned by automotive magnate Walter Chrysler, it was more than corporate signage. It was a sculptural performance. Its stainless steel spire, secretly constructed and hoisted overnight, gleamed in sunlight, while stylized eagle gargoyles, inspired by Chrysler hood ornaments, projected power, and futuristic optimism. The building's curves, chevrons, and metallic accents made it simultaneously machine and monument, celebrating technology, speed, and industrial grace. Just a few blocks away, the Empire State Building followed. Completed in 1931, during the depths of the Great Depression, it soared 1,250 feet, surpassing the Chrysler Building. Its construction, completed in only 410 days, required thousands of workers enduring wind, snow, and steel dust. The Empire State Building was not merely functional. It was an assertion of resilience, optimism, and New York's indomitable spirit. These skyscrapers captured the city's dual nature: elegant yet aggressive, ambitious yet disciplined. Art Deco's geometric yet graceful forms reflected a society seeking balance between modernity and aspiration, efficiency and expression. Skyscrapers were also monuments to legacy. Financiers, industrialists, and media magnates weren't merely building for profit. They were constructing permanence. Each tower was a signature in stone and steel, a statement that its patron's vision would endure. By the 1930s, Manhattan's skyline had crystallized into a cathedral of ambition, a tangible expression of progress, power, and aspiration. It was both a symbol and a stage, where architecture narrated the city's story. Post-World War II Manhattan entered a new phase. The ornate elegance of Art Deco gave way to streamlined modernism. Towers became corporate machines, efficient, minimalistic, and functional. Glass and steel replaced stone and ornamentation, reflecting the city's new identity as a global economic center. The United Nations headquarters, completed in 1952 along the East River, exemplified this shift. Its clean lines and reflective glass conveyed diplomacy, order, and modernity. Subsequent structures like the Lever House, 1952, and the Seagram Building, 1958, further defined the international style, emphasizing clarity, function, and restrained elegance. The Seagram Building, designed by Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, became a model for corporate minimalism. Its uniform bronze-tinted glass, precise grid, and open plaza projected authority without ornamentation. These towers did not compete for visual flourishes, but for presence, functionality, and urban impact. Midtown Manhattan emerged as a hub for banks, media companies, and corporate headquarters. Skyscrapers reflected ambition, not decoration. Mirrored monoliths captured the sun, clouds, and human aspirations alike, transforming the skyline into a visual narrative of corporate power, precision, and modernity. Even as design shifted from ornament to efficiency, the skyline remained symbolic. The glass and steel giants whispered rather than shouted, projecting the disciplined power of corporations and institutions. Manhattan's verticality became synonymous with ambition, order, and global significance. The city's architecture mirrored the nation's evolving priorities: speed, efficiency, and international presence, rather than romantic grandeur. By the 1960s, New York's verticality was established, yet dreams of architectural audacity persisted. At the southern tip of Manhattan, planners envisioned a radical project that would redefine the skyline: the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. These buildings, overseen by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey and designed by Minoru Yamasaki, adopted a minimalist aesthetic with vertical lines and aluminum cladding, rejecting ornamentation entirely. Each tower would rise over 1,600 feet, dwarfing all predecessors. The project was as much ideological as architectural, a modern temple for global commerce, symbolizing connectivity, ambition, and technological confidence. From stairs to elevators, from load-bearing masonry to steel skeletons, Manhattan's skyline evolved as a testament to innovation, ambition, and the human capacity to transcend physical limits. Each phase reflected the society, technology, and aspirations of its time, from Art Deco exuberance to corporate modernism, culminating in the monumental verticality of the World Trade Center. The city's growth was never merely functional. It was narrative, expressive, and aspirational, capturing the rhythm of human ambition in stone, steel, and glass. By the mid-1960s, Manhattan was on the brink of another transformation. The city's relentless upward trajectory would require clearing an entire neighborhood, an area known as Radio Row, a dense web of shops and small businesses that had long served as the city's electronics hub. The decision to remove it was controversial, but the vision of towering structures rising from Lower Manhattan demanded it. Construction began in 1966, marking the start of one of the most ambitious urban projects in the city's history. Building on the soft riverbed along the Hudson posed unprecedented challenges. To secure the foundations of what would become the Twin Towers, engineers devised a revolutionary technique, the slurry wall. This method allowed builders to dig deep into the waterlogged soil while holding back the relentless push of the Hudson River. At the time, it was considered a marvel of modern engineering, a solution as audacious as the towers themselves. By the time the Twin Towers were completed in 1973, they had already sparked debate. Their stark, monolithic forms were a sharp departure from the ornamental, spired skyscrapers that had characterized Manhattan's earlier skyline. Critics dismissed the towers as sterile, boxy, or impersonal. Nostalgic observers mourned the loss of the character and intricacy of past architecture. Yet for many, the towers represented something far more profound, a presence, bold and commanding, a declaration of scale and confidence. Unlike the Chrysler Building, which danced in light and metallic flourish, or the Empire State Building, which tapered elegantly toward the heavens, these twin pillars rose with unwavering certainty. They were not decorative. They were monumental, a visual statement of American ambition and economic might. For nearly 3 decades, the Twin Towers dominated Lower Manhattan. Their sheer scale, symmetry, and visibility made them a global icon. Tourists flocked to the observation decks, dined at windows on the world, or simply stared in awe from the plaza below. Though other cities constructed taller buildings over time, none carried the cultural and symbolic weight of these twin structures. They were more than architecture. They were a representation of business, of unity, of the American promise itself. Yet the skyline, as it so often had, was not static. On the morning of September 11, 2001, Manhattan's vertical identity changed forever. Within a span of less than 2 hours, the Twin Towers collapsed, reduced to smoke, dust, and twisted steel. Thousands of lives were lost, and the 2 pillars that had defined Lower Manhattan were gone. This was not merely an assault on structures. It was an attack on symbols. The towers had embodied commerce, freedom, ambition, and modernity. Their absence left the skyline fractured, a wound that was both physical and emotional. Photographs of the city now appeared hollow, and the area became known universally as Ground Zero. The days and weeks following the tragedy were marked by both grief and extraordinary resilience. The city paused, but it did not surrender. Steelworkers, firefighters, police officers, and volunteers poured into the site, not to construct, but to recover. Rubble was cleared, and lives were honored. The familiar rhythm of construction gave way to silence, a long collective breath held in mourning. Yet even in grief, New Yorkers began to look upward. Conversations about rebuilding were complex, emotional, and political. Could the skyline be restored without erasing the memory of loss? Could new structures rise without diminishing the tragedy? For years, the hole in the ground remained a sacred reminder of what had been taken. Eventually, plans emerged. In 2003, a design by architect Daniel Libeskind was selected for the new World Trade Center site. The vision was not simply about recreating what was lost, but about creating something that could honor the past while offering hope for the future. The plan combined commercial spaces with public memorials, parks, transportation infrastructure, and light-filled areas. At its core stood a new tower, One World Trade Center, initially referred to as the Freedom Tower. Rising from a northwest corner of Ground Zero, it would become the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere at 1,776 feet, a deliberate echo of the year of American independence. The height symbolized both patriotism and resilience, a collective defiance against the destruction of 2001. Construction began in 2006, and by 2014, One World Trade Center opened its doors. Clad in shimmering glass and rising like a crystalline obelisk, it refrained from imitation, instead offering a new vision. Its reflective surfaces captured the sky, changing hues with the passage of light and weather, a constant reminder that the city is alive, dynamic, and ever-changing. Adjacent to it, the 9/11 Memorial opened in 2011. Two immense voids, marking the footprints of the original towers, featured cascading waterfalls and the names of the fallen etched in bronze. The memorial was not merely architectural. It was a place of reflection, sorrow, and remembrance, woven into the soul of the city itself. The new World Trade Center complex did not stop with one WTC. Subsequent towers, 3 WTC, 4 WTC, and 7 WTC, rose in the surrounding area. Each was sleek, modern, and purposeful, symbolizing the city's determination not just to rebuild, but to evolve. The post 9/11 skyline embodied a dual narrative. It honored what had been lost while asserting that life, commerce, and ambition would continue. The city had transformed, balancing memory with progress. Manhattan's skyline became more than an arrangement of buildings. It was a chronicle of resilience, innovation, and human spirit. Today, the Manhattan skyline is recognized worldwide as a living testament to ambition and adaptability. Its identity is inseparable from history, culture, and engineering achievement. Iconic pre-9/11 landmarks, like the Empire State Building and the Chrysler Building, still shine at night and in the morning light, anchoring the city's heritage. One World Trade Center stands solemn yet proud, a modern sentinel amid the cluster of gleaming towers that continue to define Lower Manhattan. The skyline carries memory, embodying the courage of the past and the optimism for the future. Even as the skyline grew, development expanded beyond Lower Manhattan. Uptown, along the stretch known as Billionaire's Row, ultra-slender residential towers like 432, Park Avenue, Central Park Tower, and 111, West 57th Street pierce the clouds. These towers, often pencil-thin and engineered to withstand extreme wind loads, represent feats of modern structural ingenuity and the intersection of wealth and ambition. Opinions are divided. Some view them as symbols of inequality, others as architectural marvels. In Midtown, Hudson Yards emerged, a new district built over former rail yards. Gleaming glass towers now host corporate headquarters, luxury residences, and public art, further extending the skyline westward. Yet, amid innovation and expansion, the skyline never loses touch with its history. The Empire State Building glows nightly. The Chrysler Building captures sunrise in its gleaming stainless steel, and One World Trade Center reflects both the memory of tragedy and the resilience of New York. The skyline functions not merely as a collection of buildings, but as a narrative of human endeavor, ambition, and determination. Each structure tells a story of imagination, labor, risk, and reward. It chronicles the vision of architects, engineers, and workers, immigrants and natives alike, whose contributions, often anonymous, made the vertical city possible. Manhattan's skyline is never complete. It continues to evolve. Each generation adds its voice, expressing new ambitions, technological advances, and aesthetic sensibilities. Yet one truth remains. The skyline embodies the city's relentless spirit. It is not static. It is alive. It grows, changes, mourns, celebrates, and endures. Skyscrapers are more than functional structures. They are symbols of possibility, resilience, and identity. They remind us that even in the face of destruction, the human drive to reach higher, to innovate, and to create cannot be suppressed. The story of Manhattan's skyline is therefore not just about architecture. It is a story of aspiration, loss, recovery, and reinvention. It illustrates the interplay between human ingenuity and physical constraints, between tragedy and renewal. From the early days of Radio Row to the monumental Twin Towers, from the devastation of 9/11 to the rise of One World Trade Center and Hudson Yards, the skyline narrates the city's journey. It tells of risk-taking engineers, visionary architects, determined laborers, and a populace that refuses to be confined by limits. In the end, the Manhattan skyline is a living testament to the city's enduring ethos. Each spire, tower, and glass facade reflects a society that dares to dream, rebuild, and reach upward. It is both marker and inspiration, grounding New Yorkers while pointing toward limitless possibility. The skyline is not merely where the city ends, it is where ambition begins. In Manhattan, the sky has never been a limit. It is simply the next floor, the next achievement, the next story in an ever-unfolding narrative of human ingenuity.